And now, the ball is in Kendrick's court. And I can't wait to hear how Kendrick is going to respond to Drake.
Hey, yo.
So, what do you want to talk about? So, as I woke up earlier today, the first thing that was brought to my attention across all social media platforms, across all of my group chats, was Kendrick's long-awaited response to Drake. Because it's been, 2 or 3 weeks since Drake responded to Like That with push-ups. And in that time, Drake had dropped a second diss track towards Kendrick called Tailor-Made Freestyle, which was controversial for the AI-generated use of Tupac's voice. And I didn't make a video about it because at the time I was battling a cold, but if I may say in short, at the time I thought it was W-bait. And given what happened today, I was right. So let me just get this out the way. As I said in my previous videos about this entire situation, I'm a Kendrick fan, I'm a Drake fan, I'm a Cole fan. I like them all equally and differently. You guys know what I'm about, objectivity and being unbiased. That being said, when I first listened to this song, I thought it was okay. I liked the beat switches. I liked the Teddy Pendergrass sample in the beginning. There were a couple of lines that I caught at first listen where I was like, oh, this is actually kind of hard. But then afterwards, I realized two things. Firstly, I hadn't even wiped the crust out of my eyes yet because I was just waking up and everything was kind of moving super fast. And the second thing was, this is Pulitzer Prize winning Kendrick Lamar. His lyrics need to be studied and analyzed more than just one time. And as a fan of hip hop, as sort of a hip hop connoisseur who understands that hip hop is a competitive sport and advocates for that, as a content creator, as the people's champ of yapping, as I like to call myself, I didn't want to make a video based off my first listen. So it wasn't until my second and third listen that I started to hear his words clearly, and I started to apply the context to the lines and the shots that he was throwing. And by that point, I realized that while this diss track is a whole lot better than I initially thought it was, there are some moments where I thought to myself, that doesn't work. Now again, like I said, this is a whole lot better than I initially thought it was, and a lot of that is because of the bars that he puts on display. Bars like, his daddy a killer, he wanna be junior, he must have forgot the shit he had done, dementia must run in this family, but it could get shaky, I'll park your son. Bars like, there's 3 goats left and 2 of them hugging and kissing on stage, referring to Drake and Cole. And then he later on refers to them saying, I pray they my real friends, if not, I'm Y&W Melly. If you know, you know. All that Pusha P, let me see you Pusha T. Headshot for the year, you better walk around like Daft Punk. Holy Kendrick. There's a motif later on in the song where he repeats or interpolates DMX's exact sentiments from his Breakfast Club interview where he talked about his disdain for Drake, which sort of reminds me of how at the beginning of Ether by Nas, before Nas even speaks, the first thing you hear is a sample of Tupac saying Jay-Z, as if Nas is trying to tell Jay-Z that the legends don't even with you. And as a Toronto man, that Crody section, I'm not gonna lie to you, that was kind of hard. Now, some of the criticism about this track that I've been hearing is that Kendrick isn't saying anything about Drake that we didn't already know. And while I do get that argument, and there are some lines in this song that support it, I will say that sometimes it's not even about the old information itself, it's about the presentation of it. Just because something is old news doesn't necessarily mean that it can't be talked about from a different angle, or it can't be talked about in different ways than many people have before. This app is full of people who do that, myself included. Like, for example, it is constantly hurled towards Drake as a critique that anytime something bad happens in the city of Toronto, anytime an up-and-coming rapper gets killed, he hits Instagram and hits the whole thoughts and prayers thing, the city got to do better, and doesn't do anything afterwards. And then Kendrick uses that in this song to assassinate his character. Quick sidebar, I did make a video about that, but it got muted on TikTok, so go check it out on my YouTube page. Another example, it's sort of old news that there's this speculation that Drake has had surgery on his stomach. I mean, Megan talked about it, Rick Ross talked about it, and Kendrick talks about it here, but he does so very cleverly. He says, classics, you don't have none, let your core fan base stomach that, then tell them where you get your abs from. Like, come on, core, stomach, abs? You're telling me this isn't a great exercise in lyricism? That Sexy Red part where he insinuates that Drake is a bad and says that he doesn't believe that Drake likes women, like, that part is a common Twitter take, but Kendrick presents it hilariously. I'm sorry. And yeah, the whole ghostwriting thing that's always going to be attached to Drake, that is old news, but it's the way that Kendrick presents it. Remember, on Push-Ups, Drake says, what is this, a 20v1, in reference to the fact that it seems like everybody's coming at Drake. Kendrick is flipping that by saying it's a 1v20, but it's me versus you and whoever you got writing for you. Old news, great presentation. And I don't think people realize that old news continuously being brought up is not a good thing. There are so many times that you could say that somebody uses a ghostwriter or somebody's into younger girls, but the fact that those things are repeatedly brought against you is not a good thing. It's like, yeah, there's so many times you could talk about LeBron's 2011 finals appearance against the Dallas Mavericks, but the fact that it continuously gets brought up is not a good thing for his resume, which leads me to the parts that Kendrick kind of misses. Like the part where Kendrick says, I gotta go raise my son, but you don't know nothing about that. That doesn't make sense to me, considering the fact that it's literally a meme that Pusha T bullied Drake into being an active father in Adonis's life. And the reason why that's a meme is because we see Drake with Adonis a lot. Like, it would make sense if it was 2018 when we first learned about Adonis, but it's 2024. The little on his albums now. That's sort of where the old news argument kind of comes in. And while I'm at it, the part where he verbatim uses Pusha T's lines that he used against Drake, if you're using another man's lines to diss the same guy, it just doesn't, I don't know. I don't know. And also, on Taylor Made Freestyle, Drake essentially spot called for Kendrick to use the whole younger girls thing against him. And the way that Kendrick responds to that is by naming the song Euphoria as sort of a reference to Drake being the executive producer of the show Euphoria, the show with sexually explicit content pertaining to young girls. When you connect those two things, but then you hear Kendrick on this song say that Drake isn't calculating, despite the fact that he himself has played into the very thing that Drake literally lobbed to him. Makes no sense. Also, it's Haley Joel Osment that was in AI and 6th Sense, not Joel Osteen. I really wanted to like this bar at first listen because I heard Joel and I heard 6th Sense and AI, but then on my second listen, I heard Joel Osteen. I was like, oh, why'd you do that? But perhaps my biggest issue with this diss track is the part where Kendrick says, how many features from black artists do you need before you feel black enough? And as a black Canadian who's had to hear stupid from people about Canadians and black Canadians and how they fit or don't fit into blackness and black culture and hip-hop culture, I'm gonna stop talking before I get pissed off. Though that line could be more about Drake being biracial than him being Canadian, so maybe I'm just projecting my own stuff onto this line. What I'm gonna say for now is I don't want this to be some Canada versus America black culture diaspora war type shit. I'm not into that at all. But now the ball is in Drake's court and I cannot wait to see how he responds, and if both of them are to be believed, I think they both got more in the tuck, so let's see how this all unfolds. And please, no more AI, no more leaks, no more Instagram captions and story posts. Just get in the booth.